Hello, people. It's your boy Usmaan back again with another football podcast with the rival fans. Yes, this is going to be a weekly show where we will be discussing all things Premier League. So make sure you stay tuned. Show the boys some love. Drop a like on their socials as well. I know that most of them have got their own platform, so make sure you check them out. All their links will be in the description. As always, drop a like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1K. Can't believe I'm saying that, but we actually eventually got past 500, so happy days. Anyways, this week's show, the title is Whose Manager's Getting Sacked First? But before we go into that, we've got to discuss which league is the Farmers League. As you guys know, Mbappe was basically taking the piss out of us, really, saying that, suggesting that the French League isn't the Farmers League, as one of the teams are in the final, one of the teams are in the semi-finals of the Champions League. So we'll see what the boys have got to say. So as always, we've got Dan, Kojo, Cahill, and Daniel. Boys, how we doing?
Doing good, man.
Good, mate. Good.
Kojo's got the J-Links. Oh, God, he's started already. Oh, you love to see it. Right, no, Dan, we'll start with you, mate. What are your thoughts on Mbappe's comments? Do you think are you surprised that he even cares that people are saying that about the French League first and foremost? That's a bit random. Wasn't expecting him to come out for that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see maybe why I'd care because, he's playing for the team at the top of that league and it sort of diminishes the achievement of winning that league if people are saying, yeah, it's like a Farmers League and that. But really, I think he's having a laugh, really, because he's playing for PSG, the team that are just slapping money down like there's no tomorrow and just buying all of these top class players, So for them to be in the Champions League don't really say much about the French league. Really, if you think about it. And the thing is with the French league, the reason why people call it the Farmers League, and it's not so much about how teams do in Europe. It just seems to be that when you bring players from the French league, you find some that just take to the Premier League and they do well and they shine, but there's always a lot that don't cut it in the Premier League. But when you take players that don't cut it in the Premier League and put them in the French league, they seem to do better. So that's why I think a lot of people look at it that way, really. Not so much like how they perform in the cups.
Yeah, I feel like Dan's kind of got an agenda with the French league because obviously didn't Payet leave you to go back or
to go back to anonymity. So that's and now he's got the coronavirus as well. He's got the coronavirus.
Oh. Well, hopefully he recovers first and foremost. And then
I don't wish the coronavirus on Payet, even though he screwed us over.
So as Dan said, Kojo, players from the Premier League go to the French League, they always seem to flourish. Obviously Ben Arthur looked like $1 million after his. To be fair, Ben Arthur is an anomaly because he's a fantastic player in general. But do you think there is a case for that in terms of although there are quality players in the French league, a lot of which, some of the bigger leagues are trying to get a hold of them players. Do you still think there's still the Farmers League? Obviously, Mbappe's having a joke by it, but do you still think the quality in the Premier League is far superior to them?
I think the Premier League is a better league than League One, but I feel like they needed a bit of a humbling this year. I feel like the Premier League needed a bit of a humbling this year, and that's why they've gone full throttle with it, because they've had two teams go into the semi-finals of the Champions League. I want them beat a team that is so rated highly in the Premier League.
They beat Man City,
especially with Pep Guardiola, who is apparently a managerial god. So, apparently.
Apparently,
Yeah. But so, I understand why he came with that vim, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I back it because you know this as well as I been saying for a long time that this Premier League is absolute garbage, and I'm just happy that he managed to get some of him out there, because I can't lie to you, this needed a humbling. Like when I put on Twitter about now your place at least this year. Oh yeah, but Tottenham and Liverpool got to a Champions League final last year. I don't give a shit about that. I don't care. You needed a humbling and you got it. So deal with it, because the two leagues they disrespect had two teams each in the semi-final of the Champions League. So where's your team?
It's true. Obviously, we don't care about last year anyway because Liverpool won it, so that's one factor. No bias and all that good stuff. But Danny, do you think there is a case that there's a lot of arrogance in terms of, and I'm going to include myself in this, by the way, arrogance from people like myself and other fans that predominantly watch the Premier League. Obviously, you watch the Bayerns and potentially Real Madrid, Barca, etc. But do you think there's a lot of arrogance thinking that our league is still the most competitive, or do you think there is a case for the Premier League being the most competitive still?
Do you know what? Do you know what's funny about this debate? I just think it's really a matter of perspective. I've always been of the mindset that when it comes to the creme de la creme of each league, for a while, so we went through a period where England, I wouldn't even say was on top. We were even at risk of losing our fourth place automatic Champions League place, so not having to go through the qualifiers. And then obviously Man City and Liverpool have now become like, I will easily say that Man City and Liverpool are still two of the best teams in the world, despite having poor seasons in terms of Europe, of course. But I still won't call the Premier League a farmers league. I'll say there's a bit of arrogance, yes, but it's still a competitive league in terms of like anyone can beat anyone on their day, of course. When I look at the French league, obviously, yes, we have the PSGs of this world, who are a great team when it comes to the European scale. But then if you look at their league, the league is a farmers league. Like, I think it's because the connotation surrounding the word farmers league just makes it seem all bad and everything like that. But you have to remember, since 2014-15 season in the French league, I think PSG won the league by 31 points. The year after, I think Monaco then won the league, where it was competitive between them two. Then since then on, it's been 15 points. It's been a gap of 15 points every single year. So my thing is, the problem I have with a lot of the leagues, like the Portuguese league, let's say, for example, the French league, even Bundesliga to some extent. Recently, it's been more competitive. But in the grand scheme of things, if I take a bulk of 10 years, for example, it's just been top heavy. And in my opinion, yes, the Premier League has had where Man City have blitzed the league and Liverpool have blitzed the league. But then if you look in between, it's very, very tight between the rest of the leagues. And I just think, between the rest of the teams, and I just think that's my perception of what a competitive league is. Not so much so who wins the league, but what's happening elsewhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So in terms of competition all throughout the league,
exactly,
which is something that the Premier League tends to pride itself over. But Gail, do you think this season in particular, I suppose a lot of people will say, look, Daniel's alluded to the point difference. But let's be honest, Liverpool have been far superior. They almost went unbeaten. As an Arsenal fan, I'm sure you know about that. So Liverpool. The way you man celebrate that Watford win, no. But to be fair, I was celebrating as well. I didn't lie. I didn't want them to go. But now, obviously, Liverpool have been so far ahead. You could argue Man City, thereabouts, obviously, they're a lot better than the rest of the team. And then after them two teams, a lot of other teams, without the arrogance, a lot of other, so let's say the Spanish leagues, except fans from Spanish leagues, they're going to be looking at our league saying, you've got two good teams, both have done absolutely nothing in Champions League. One got beat by Lyon, who's not in our best team. And then the rest of you are absolute shit, basically, let's be real. Like, you can't make a case for Chelsea, Man United at the moment as it stands. And obviously we finished third and fourth respectively. And then all the other teams below us, you've got Sheffield United and Wolves in between some of you. So, do you think there is a case for the Premier League the quality is definitely dropping massively? And I heard someone say, I think it might be Marion, who's the Barcelona fan. It's not often that the Spanish teams, etc., looking for players in the Premier League. It's always the other way around. Why are we always looking for players abroad? You don't see, apart from the odd, maybe Pogba, etc., to some of the individuals. But overall, you don't get many other big teams looking for players in our league, do you?
No, not exactly. But I think that comes down to because when we go looking for players in Spain or players in France, it's usually French nationals or Spanish nationals that are looking forward to coming to England playing the Premier League. You don't get a lot of English nationals that want to play abroad, unless your name's Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham, who's recently gone as well. I think there's a bit of a culture clash when it comes to English players wanting to go out to Spain or France to ply their trade. In terms of the points difference, I think football's cyclical. Last year we had 4 teams in European finals, and this year we had none. So for Mbappe to say that England's the Farmers League, it means one thing, that he checks Twitter, which is funny. But no, France is, for a while, it's been dominated by one team. Now it's PSG. Before it was Lyon for quite a while. But I would say this, in terms of quality of style of football, European leagues have it on England. You don't get that great stylistic football or technical quality in the UK that you do abroad, and that they definitely have.
I mean, I think that's probably to do with the money in it. A lot of the time is like a lot of teams don't want to play too expansive because of the stakes. The stakes are so high in the Premier League, and certain times, I mean, like even Arsenal, who went for a period where they were known for that. Now you're going back to playing a bit more pragmatic. It's like with them teams where it's no matter what they play, they're always going to have that difference. They probably just have that less pressure. Just the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a valid point in terms of the money. Is something that you definitely take into consideration. And I think that is something that helps, the Premier League above the other leagues, not only attracting players, but in terms of, getting the creme de la creme. You see with the French league, there's not much money in there. So a lot of the players are leaving quite rapidly. And if you're in the Premier League, you could be at a team in 10th place like Arsenal and still get decent money. Do you know what I mean? So it is what it is. The Premier League's a bit more... it's a bit more balanced out in that sense. But listen, let's talk about the season that's just gone. Obviously, in the coming weeks, we will be looking ahead to the season coming. The reason I want to look behind and the way the season's finished is because then we're going to reassess and see where our teams need to go to improve and potentially reach our objectives for the coming season. So first and foremost, I just want you to get an overall of your guys' thoughts in terms of who do you think had the best season. So obviously, it's quite evident that it was Klopp. So obviously, Klopp, of course, Klopp won the league. Every other team underneath, I want to ask you guys, who do you think? Because a lot of people are calling out Pep Guardiola. So I want to start with Pep Guardiola, actually, Dan. Do you think the criticism he's been getting off late is fair? Because a lot of people, obviously, that notion for Guardiola is obviously a joke. But do you think the criticism he gets is fair, or do you think some of it is warranted?
Probably to an extent. I think a lot of it's like quite overblown because obviously he's the manager of like the money team, right? And as Coach alluded to, like he's got a lot of hype behind him. A lot of people big him up. So he's like any mistake, any slip, people are going to be gunning for him. But I mean, he did win the title back to back for Man City. But again, it's what have you done lately? And I think it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, Liverpool had an amazing season this season. So if he stays at Man City, it's going to be, can he bounce back? I'm going to be looking to see if he can bounce back from this. Because everyone can have, look, if you're a big top team, you can have one City blip. I mean, like I said, Man United and Arsenal, like you've been having like 10 season blips or whatever it is, or 50 blips where you've not even been there. No, but I'm saying, like they won it back to back. Yeah, they've slipped this season, but it's one season. See what they do again. It's just, I think for them, the big disappointing thing is like they haven't been able to do it in Europe. Yeah. And I thought that this season could have been the season with Liverpool blowing everyone away. They would have went, right, let's just go all out for Europe. But it's a different ball game tournaments than leagues. And you can make a mistake in a league and then come back and bounce back and try and win a few games. But in a tournament, especially when it gets to that just pure, not even multiple legs stage, it's tough. So, yeah, I think some of it's warranted, but I think it's overblown, the criticism. I think people are making too much out of it.
Yeah, it's all about Europe, isn't it? It's all about Europe. So it's
especially for Man City, definitely.
I mean, obviously, the criticism started up by Munich because he took over the reigning champions of Europe, and then they got dumped 5-0 by Real Madrid, and then the next day by Barcelona. But they're two of the top teams, so you can't really be mad at him for that. But then City, they lost to Monaco, and obviously recently Lyon, Spurs the previous year. So there's the question of number one, what people asking is, can you do it without Messi? That's number one. Number two, with all the resources and the money you spent, why are you not advancing at least to a final or regular in the semi-finals of the Champions League? Yeah. Those questions are now being thrown at him. And the thing is, obviously, in Germany, he was expected to win the league with Bayern Munich, as per.
Well, didn't he inherit a team that won the quadruple, if I'm not wrong?
The treble.
Yeah. And obviously, that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, he won the league again, but the reigning champions losing 5-0 on aggregate, like that for them is not good enough, And obviously with City, you got 100 points, 98 points the next year. So in 2 years, 198 is extraordinary, but not winning against Tottenham, who are inferior to you in your league, in the Champions League, not beating Lyon, even though now it's a one-game knockout, so anything can happen. But is that, and also some managerial decisions, like sometimes at Munich, he would play like Lahm, defensive midfield out of nowhere, and then Goretzka will be on the right wing, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? Against Lyon,
But he did it for Man City against Lyon. Yeah, exactly. He just randomly
played at the back out of nowhere, and everyone was like, "Why have you made this change?" You know, I wouldn't question him because whatever he's done has brought him success in general.
Yeah.
But I also understand the question marks around the whole. Why would you change it? Because surely in a knockout game you want to go, not necessarily gung ho, but more attacking to assert your dominance, assert your levels above Lyon, and say, yeah, we're going to take this game by the throat and win it. But it's all about Europe. That's what it is, isn't it? That's the be all and end all for a lot of people. It's about Europe, and he has to win it without Barcelona, without Lionel Messi, to win the Champions League. Once he does that, I think they'll get off his neck. But until then, he's
Man City fans say they don't want it though. I don't know if I believe them, but they're like, yeah, we don't care about Europe.
Man City fans love to paint themselves still as an underdog. So they're about the whole. We're very happy to be here.
No, man.
And they've got that. They had that beef with the Champions League, didn't they? Do you remember they had that big beef with them? And
so now they don't care about it and all that rubbish. And it's perfect. It's sort of like last year when Liverpool lost the league by a point.
They didn't care. The fans didn't care, did they?
No, and like, we're just enjoying our football, and I was like, no, shut up, you're not enjoying your football. You want to win.
I'm not sure about that Liverpool.
No. Listen. I don't want to.
That sounded like an Usmaan impression.
Don't put me with the Scousers.
I don't want to even impersonate it properly. That means I'm corrupted. It's all right. But anyway, in general, they want to win the league, so that was a lie. You know what I mean? You lose the league by a point, you're burning. Don't come and talk rubbish. So they won the league this year, they're gassed. City fans will say they don't care about Champions League. If they win it, they will never, ever shut up. And that's facts. That's facts. Yeah. Listen,
well, that's fair.
Everything we won, when we won Europa League under Mourinho, I couldn't shut up for 3 weeks, and it's Europa League. So if they win Champions League, what are they doing?
Well, some Man United fans were claiming a fucking treble, so you know they are his Germans fans. Joseph was Joseph. You see him when they were lifting trophy, he kept winning 3 up.
Well, City said they won the quadruple, didn't they? They had the community show today. Their accolades.
Oh no, yeah, true actually. Well, Liverpool.
So I'm doing it with chess. We won the treble, bro. What are you saying? It is what it is.
Right, Daniel, I got a comment here, mate. I'll pass it to you. So the United were saying Pep papering over the cracks. We're throwing money at it. He totally bought it against Lyon. I feel he has one more big season to win the Champions League. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, for the longest while, I mean, look, Pep's a great manager, but I'm just not his biggest fan. I just think he overcomplicates things. He does things, and then everyone calls him a genius when he does do the thing. But like Kojo said, he doesn't want to criticize him, or something like that. Phrase it like he doesn't want to criticize him too much. I'm paraphrasing, but in fact, I'm going to grill him. Like he deserves all the slander that goes his way because. At the end of the day, he's put everything that he's done for that City team has been him. Whether it be the good stuff, bringing in the new fullbacks, bringing in the new players that have come into the team to try and help the team, and the bad stuff. So the way the Sane situation, not being able to sort out the left back situation with Mendy always getting injured and Kompany leaving and not replacing the centre back. Yeah. I just don't understand his tactics. The Lyon game, he came out and said, and all these interviews. Yeah, if you watch the post-match interviews from a lot of managers, you'll see a lot of like cop-out excuses. Lampard does it. I've seen Oli do it. Pep does it. Most managers do it. Like he said, yeah, he didn't trust his centre backs. That's why he started with a 3 against Lyon. If you didn't trust your centre backs, you would have started a 3 against Real Madrid. Why didn't you just play the same team who beat Real Madrid comfortably in the round before? You don't go and change your team for Lyon. Like you're a much better team than Lyon. Do you get what I'm saying? And we had this conversation already. There's a reason why I'm strongly Klopp and Mourinho. I know people still get onto Mourinho now, but I'm strongly Klopp and Mourinho over Pep even till now because I just think that at least with Mourinho, we know what we're gonna get from him. Like there's not gonna be like a surprise. We know the football he's gonna play. It's not necessarily gonna change. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, everyone gets onto that one thing. But with Pep, there's always, it's like, you know, City are the worst team to have players for on your fantasy football because you really don't.
Yeah, he changes it all the time.
Bernardo Silva
all the time, yeah.
Pissing me off.
1 week, and you think Bernardo Silva is definitely starting next week, and he's on the bench. Like it just doesn't really make sense. And sometimes it's not necessary. And my thing is with Pep, like you live and die by the changes and tactics that you implement, and he's currently dying by them because he's not getting them that Champions League. He's going to
Do you think
struggle.
that's a byproduct of having such a big team of players? All these big players they got on the bench. Yeah, and you've got to try and like switch it up all the time, and maybe that's like their own downfall is having such a big squad.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a valid point. You have to keep him happy. Kale, coming to you again. Another comment from United Way. You know, we've spoken where he spoke. Pep said, you know, he doesn't trust his defense. He's bought Ake now, Nathan Ake, 41 million. Is he the man to turn their fortunes around?
Koulibaly,
or potentially Koulibaly. I don't know. Obviously, you can let us know if you think Koulibaly is going to happen as well. Coach, what do you reckon?
No, I don't think Nathan Ake. Team recently got relegated.
What an absolute shock.
Is going to change City's fortune. I'm not saying he's not a decent centre back. He is. I think he's quite good. He's quite quick, which kind of helps Laporte, especially considering he came back from, was it Cruciate he had? Yeah. So that's going to help him nicely. But in terms of trying to challenge Liverpool's Van Dijk with Nathan Ake, especially for 41 million. Which doesn't make any sense until they got Ferran Torres.
Can I just get this comment of Kojo 1 second? It just made me chuckle. Kojo looks like he's on the beach. Oh, God. Yeah, sorry, Kale.
Yeah, but no, it's not going to change anything. Just to echo what Daniel said, like, it made no sense why he changed that system against Lyon because, yeah. Like, if you didn't change against Real Madrid, who have Eden Hazard, who's obviously not had the best season, Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., Karim Benzema, like, you're not going to change that system for Memphis Depay. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's not that quality. So he shot himself in the foot with that decision because they clearly could have controlled that midfield with the players that they have. They didn't even start. He started Rodri and. Why?
No, Mahrez. I'm still baffled that Mahrez didn't get a start. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he has too many stars in that team, and like he doesn't help himself. He just doesn't help himself.
Yeah, no, I agree with Daniel in terms of he's tinkering too much for me. He did it against Man United as well, and he said it prior to playing against us that. It would be like we had Dan James up front at the time, but there was no Martial. We literally had Dan James and Rashford up top. That was our strike force.
Do we have to talk about that?
No. But Pep was going on about it. Like we had flipping Ronaldo up front, like prime Rivaldo and Ronaldo. Like the way he was talking up Dan James, I was like, "Yo, is Dan James actually this good?" Like you now starting to question my own thoughts and shit by the way he's talking about it. But then let's talk about another manager. Let's talk about Arteta, right? Arteta obviously winning his first silverware. You know, for me personally, and I just want to throw this out to you guys. First and foremost, this season that Arteta just had, I do think it's a success because, of course, you know, what else could he really achieve realistically? So fair play to you. Got to respect him for that. But the season coming up, do you think we're going to truly find out the character of Arteta? Because just to throw it out there, there's a lot of games you lost. I believe you lost to Brighton twice. You obviously did a double of you. There wasn't much backlash. There was no ramifications. Hardly any fans were calling for his head. Of course, there wouldn't be because he's just coming to the job. I wouldn't. Whoever's calling for his head is deluded. Let's be real, and it's too early to be doing that. But moving forward into the next season, every single mistake he makes now is actually going to get scrutinized. You've seen with Lampard, you've seen with Oli. Every time they made a mistake, you know the fans are on them, the media's on them, and Arteta's kind of had a free run really. So this season coming up. Do you actually think that the pressure is actually going to be on him, Dan, or do you still think he'll have time to obviously just see his way in, so to speak?
I think the Arsenal fans will probably have a little bit more patience with him than they've had with Emery. To extent, although they was really wanting to give Emery a chance, maybe a slightly. But the thing is, if it comes to sort of that Christmas time and things are looking really, you know, they're quite a few points off the top four. I think there'll be a contingent that starts to build, you know, a vocal area that will start to put that pressure on. So, and that's the thing with the Arsenal fan base. A lot of the time, it's always divided. Even with Emery, at this point it got divided, but especially the Wenger stuff. So I think there'll be that group of that fan pushing the fan base that no matter what will back him, and then there'll be like the vocal ones that will go against him. But with this past season, obviously, like for him to come in and like win the FA Cup, for him personally as a manager, I think that's that's great. I think he's done really well there. He didn't really make any improvements in the league though. He didn't really, when you sack a manager and you bring a new manager in, you kind of want them to take you up the table a bit more, right? Like if you're in the relegation zone, you want that manager to come in and get you out of the relegation zone. So if they'd have said it's equivalent to if they'd have been bottom, like maybe he's taken them to what, like 18th type of thing. Yeah. So you know what I mean? He's what is it? Maybe took him like 1 or 2. I can't remember where they was when Emery was sacked.
I think they were 8th. They were 8th.
Were they 8th? Were they around 8th? Yeah.
8th. I'm sure
they
were.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So so he hasn't really improved with the league. So the league is what people need to watch to see how he can do it over the portion of the season. And then of course the transfer window is going to be big. Can he identify the right players if he's the one identifying them, and then make it work then? So I'm really interested. I think that's going to be one of the real interesting managers to watch to see how they do is Arteta. So yeah, it's going to be and Arsenal. It's always a volatile situation of if it goes wrong, it goes wrong spectacularly. So
that's the kind of the way I'm looking at it. I'm just interested to see what you guys' thoughts are going into the new season. A lot of people in the comments are saying, it depends on the board basically. With Arteta, and I think you could probably say that for a lot of.
I think the board. Arsenal fans, they make too much thing about their board. I think they go overboard on the board because when I see Arsenal, right, and this is what I mean, they act like they've got the worst board in the league, right? And a lot of the time, exactly. I mean, a lot of the time when it's your own club, you're like that, innit? You got
tunnel vision.
We all have. But when I look at them, right, and I look at they've tried to always hire the right people for the job, right? They had the what was it, the guy from Dortmund? What's that?
Like Kroenke's own son? Like no,
but he's not really like the direct. He's not really like the football guy. Like I'm thinking about, like you hired what's his name, the Dortmund guy, the guy from Dortmund to be director of football. Then he left. Now you've got this other guy who everyone was worshipping and
I
mean, and now they sort of quietly moved Wenger on when everyone was wanting him to be moved on. They've spent money, whacked down 70 million for Pepe. Now there's an investigation into that, which is interesting. Got Aubameyang into the club, which is massive because he's really, let's be real, he's a Champions League level, he should be in Champions League finals. Like they've got him in the club. They've consistently tried to get good players in the club. They haven't been splashing like a Man City or a Liverpool, but they've been trying. I think a lot of Wenger had a lot of control over it, and I think probably letting him stay too long was a big problem. But how do you just get rid of a legend like that? So I think fans are a little bit too harsh. I'm not going to say they're perfect and they're the best board ever.
Yeah, I don't think any fans are really.
But they've made mistakes. They've made mistakes for sure, and they could be. And Kroenke could be a little bit more invested, but I think they're not as bad as. I think Man United's board far worse.
Well, Newcastle. I think Newcastle's win it for worst board.
Yeah, Newcastle.
But,
no.
Newcastle's actually the worst in the league by far.
We have Karen Brady negotiating transfers.
Yeah, but this is Karen Brady. 40 million
the apprentice stand.
40 million. 40.
No, man.
More than Thiago Alcantara. But anyways, this leads me on nicely, right? I saw a comment today and I had to double check if it's true, and it is. So I'm going to ask you, Kojo, first before we come into the Chelsea and the Arsenal fight, because I actually linked to one of your lot's players. So Willian has come out and said, they asked him, why did you join Arsenal? He said, and this has come out of his own mouth, he joined Arsenal because Arteta said they are going to win the Champions League in the next 3 years. And this has come out of William's mouth. I'm not making this up. I've actually checked the quotes. It's legit. So, Kojo. I'll talk about Arteta being under pressure. I don't know why he's put that much pressure. You have to be in the Champions League to compete in it. But Kojo, mate, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's a realistic target? Champions League next 3 years. He said win, by the way. He didn't say compete. He actually said win. So, Kojo, I'll pass that to you, mate. What are your thoughts?
Oh, God. Okay. No, that's a lie, but it is what it is, isn't it? He's ambitious. I'll give him that. He's ambitious.
There's ambition, and then there's, then there's that. I'm not going to marry Margot Robbie in 3 years.
You know what?
Do not be. Come on, lads.
All right, so obviously they sacked Don Raul, and now apparently Edu and Arteta are in charge of the transfer. So obviously I think he's feeling a little bit chesty. He trusts his football knowledge, and he feels like, oh, raw, matting.
Wow.
That's a serious comment, you know. Mad.
Oh,
Wow. Bring back Ljungberg. Anyway, anyway, nah, it's very ambitious. Maybe he's feeling like, obviously, because he's got a bit more control now. Maybe he feels like he can bring in the caliber of players, but obviously you have to improve in the league to bring in the next caliber of talent. And Aubameyang is, oh Christ, wow.
Yo, these guys are on rating Arsenal in the chat. Yo, I'm not just throwing any ones that are out there, but
yeah, top 8, innit? Top 8. Maybe, and obviously Aubameyang's getting older, so we don't know if Aubameyang will still be producing goals at that maybe in those 3 years. I don't know if he's going to be that guy, but I think that's a bit ambitious. I think the gap between them, City, Liverpool, is a bit peak. I think Chelsea have also improved their team massively in the past 2 or 3 months, so they got to catch up to them as well. So cool. So I mean, look, they're linked with a couple of players. Gabriel could be a good signing. Willian is, I actually think Willian's a good signing for free transfer. Even though the wage I think is a bit excessive, to be honest, and 3 years is a bit mad. But you know, it is what it is. Gabriel could be a good signing if they somehow pull off Partey. It's a very good addition to the team. But these are all what ifs. Right now, I look at the team, I say hell no. So.
But if they get into Champions League, it'll be an achievement. I personally think as it starts.
Well, if they want to get into the Champions League and be tourists again, I'm absolutely good with that. But until then, you know.
Coming from my United fans, by the way.
Listen, wait, hold on. Hold on. I didn't say we're gonna go do no Champions League winning guy, but we're tourists too. Just join the club. We go to Madrid, get Nottingham, and go chill Marbella.
You know, you know. In the European League, as it stands, I don't even fucking want that.
You might get a nice trip to Mykonos, you know.
Don't worry, we'll get onto that. Don't worry, I can't to lead the legend, man. Don't worry about that.
But they ain't winning in no 3 years, man. Unless you took my FM or FIFA.
They've only got 2 years to do it because this the first year they're not even in it. So
exactly. Next year, this year they get in, Dan. Don't worry, they got this 2 years. But William's ambitious, man. Listen, yeah, exactly. I saw another comment, right, Dan. I'm gonna pass it, Daniel. Sorry, I'm gonna pass this to you. You know, as someone who's watched William week in week out. This one comes from Don Robbie himself, the legend, on their podcast, All Guns Blazing with DT. He said this with his chest as well. I've seen the whole context. So he was actually serious. Yeah. Basically, he's saying William is better than Ziyech. He said it with his chest. DT was sat there and agreed with him. He didn't flipping question it. He didn't say, nah, what the hell is Robbie? You smoking something? Nah, man,
they've started already. They've started already with that. Okay, cool. Sorry,
Daniel, they're sat there, mate. What are your thoughts, bro? As someone who's, watched William week in, week out, do you think they've got a case there?
I mean, I think the reaction of everyone says it all. It's not even, there's days, obviously, or there's debates where, yeah, cool, we can banter. And there's debates to be actually had, like, even though I don't agree with people saying that Martial is the best striker in the league. No, I don't agree with it.
Because he's not.
He's not.
If you want to debate, he's part of the top 3 or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to look for a debate anyway that's worth debating. But this isn't even worth debating. The thing is, the Willian argument, the Willian as a player, obviously we've had to back Willian because he plays for us, but when he's now leaving our club, I think we're allowed to say the flaws that we've had to endure when we've had Willian. Number one flaw, he never beats the first man with his corners. As in, he literally never does it. And it's so frustrating. Number two, and for a winger, his production isn't that great. The one thing I say about Willian, though, in his defense, is that he's probably one of the best defensive wingers in the league. He tracks back heavily. He puts a lot of pressure. He wins the ball back, so his ball retrieval for an attacking player is actually quite good as well. But come on, man, when we're talking about Ziyech, someone who I believe his game translates very well to the Premier League. High level of assists. He also scores a good amount of goals. He was Ajax, but in that Champions League run, in terms of the attacking outlet, he was probably the main player, I'd say.
Well, he almost won it for them against Spurs. He hit post.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, he's probably the person who made the mistake in that game by not running to the corner when they had the ball, and he tried to score again. So yeah, man. But there's no debate here, man. We don't need to spend too long on that. Willian's obviously not better than Ziyech.
Yeah, you spoke about Willian not hitting, hitting the first man consistently. Just to give it, just to give a bit of context, Van Gaal and Jose had Phil Jones on our corners, so I don't know if that makes sense. And Phil Jones would do this, like put his hands up like this.
Bro, can we leave those in the past? What are you doing, man?
What the fuck was that about, man? I wish we had this podcast.
I still don't know.
Why is Phil Jones stuck there? Like, I'd take Willian hit the first man.
Can't lie though, Phil Jones beat first man. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, he's better than Willian. There you go, you heard it first. Right, Kale, the two questions that passed the boys. First and foremost, he's winning Champions League in the first 3 years. And is Willian a good signing? Forget the Ziyech comment, because I think that's just ridiculous. But do you actually think Willian's going to get a game for you guys?
Oh, yeah, he's going to get a game. I have no doubt he's going to get a game. But should he? No. I was annoyed when I heard that we were going after him. Annoyed when I heard that we signed him, and annoyed when I heard how much he's on. Like, it's ridiculous that he's 32 now, hasn't played well for Chelsea for the past 5 years, maybe. And he's one of our top earners now. Makes no sense. But it is what it is. Arsenal will always make dumb financial decisions, Top four? No, not top four. Winning the Champions League. No. Just no. I'd like to see if we can get back into the Champions League, which I think he can achieve. Maybe in the next 2 years. I'm not sure. It all depends on his signings this window and then the next window. I don't think he's gonna have enough financial backing to get the players that he needs. It's nice hearing about Partey, but we're not going to spend 50 million.
Okay, quick question though. It's a bit off topic, but I posed this question to a couple of Arsenal fans. Do you think, with Aubameyang staying, obviously he's also 32. Do you think he lacks a bit of ambition, or do you think he's trying to be an Arsenal icon? Because I personally think that for him to have not played Champions League football since he signed for Arsenal, I think that's quite bad for a player of his caliber.
I wouldn't say he lacks ambition. I would say that people underestimate the job that Troops has done. I'm saying it here. If it was not for Troops, Aubameyang would have left. He would have left.
Do you know what?
He has made Arsenal feel like a home.
Yeah.
Aubameyang.
You know, I love Troops to death. He's a great guy, but as a player, if you were going to judge your career, where you go and what you achieve in your career based off of a fan that you happen to get on with,
no.
You tell him, Dan.
Just because he says Obama blood clot Yang, you're like, yeah. I don't need Champions League.
Blood clot Yang.
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that he has created such an environment where the fans just completely back what Troops is saying about Aubameyang, and I feel that environment has helped him. He's not going to find that environment in Barcelona. He's not going to find that environment in Real Madrid. So yes, he could have gone to a team like, I think he was going to go to Chelsea. That's what I heard. But I think people underestimate the job that he has done in terms of making Aubameyang a fan favorite.
I mean, his goals haven't hurt though, as well.
Yeah, I was about to say his goals. If you score that many goals, come on, you're gonna be fan favorite, aren't you? It's not because of Troops, is it?
What's that saying? Sorry,
I said he's not fan favorite because the Troops shouts his name. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
No. I'm messing up.
I get what you're saying.
I'm bad you up, but I know what you're saying.
I get what you're saying, though, to an extent. I think it has helped a lot. The whole blood clot Yang
environment for Aubameyang.
It's viral, isn't it? It goes viral.
He won't get anywhere else, and I feel that environment is something that he thrives on. It's something that he enjoys. I think he enjoys living in London. So all those elements and he gets goals for Arsenal regardless. So he enjoys his football at Arsenal. So all those coalescing have helped him make the decision to stay. I don't think he lacks ambition. I think he wants to win the trophy. He wants to win the FA Cup. He wants to play in the Champions League, but it just hasn't happened for him yet.
Yeah,
I think that it could.
I was going to add to that, Kale. Obviously, for me, Percy doesn't lack ambition because, Arteta is, quite confident. He said that they could win the Champions League in the next 3 years. So, happy days in it. So, he's here to win it with Willian and the boys. We got this. Willian,
They couldn't do it with Henri, but Willian thinks he's going to be the one to take
it.
He went there,
Man, right, boys. I'm going to finish on 2 last things. Obviously, which manager thinks and get sacked. We'll obviously discuss that in detail. But we've got to talk about Harry Maguire. And we're not going to talk about Man United and Chelsea because we spoke about him so much last time. So we're not going into too much detail. But we've got to speak about Harry Maguire, haven't we? Now we come to you first and foremost, mate. First question, obviously, this we can't really comment too much on the situation because we don't know the truth. But what I do know, he has been released and he's on his way back to Manchester. I've heard that much. And also, do you think it's worth him losing the captaincy over something like this?
Well, I was looking up that apparently Rooney, when he got arrested, didn't lose the captaincy. Same with Roy Keane in the past, right? Yeah. I mean, me personally, I'm looking at that. You got to look at the circumstance. If they're saying like his sister got stabbed or something, then yeah, you don't let him. He's really stepped up for his family. If he's just getting drunk and getting into brawls, you're thinking it's not really captain behavior, but you investigate it. It's just a bit weird. I find the media's treatment of it weird because like we've seen all of the Raheem Sterling comparisons between how they treat him and how they treat Maguire, but then it's weird for the Man United fans. Like the Man United fans have been completely like, get him out. Some people say sell him. Like sell him completely. It's like, have you not seen the other players that you've had? Yeah,
that's Kojo and all his burners accounts.
Get him out. But that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think? I think if he was a better player, all right, say it was Martial, who like Man United fans love. If it was Martial, because he's like a great player at the moment and he's had a great season, they would be like, let him do his thing. Just because I think they base it on ability, and that's what I'm saying. With Rooney and Roy Keane, they get a pass.
Yeah,
but because Harry Maguire hasn't had a good season, it's kind of like more willing to just dash him away.
Well, man.
He's had a
bad season. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I think he's had a bad he's had a bad period in the season. I think it's just coincided with the end of the season.
That 80 million is gonna be a thing over his head, though. When you're going for that long.
That's going to happen forever. Look at Lukaku. He went for like 75 million and he just got an own goal in it and final. Do you know what I mean, Daniel?
Torres, yeah. Oh, what about Torres?
Daniel's been at me on Twitter. Which team sells a 34
million? United fans were so affected by it. They literally ignored.
We weren't affected at all.
Ignored the whole. He contributed. To be fair, I personally don't even care. It's just all banner, innit? And it's all funny. But the Lukaku.
You lot celebrated that own goal like it was your winning goal in the Champions League.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And I'll explain why. We've got completely off Harry Maguire. But the reason I explain why is because every single rival fan, right, had a fucking tweet ready saying, "Oh, Man United experts or Man United players left." Even the Arsenal fans famously say, all these players that left.
Usmaan, the tweet about Sanchez, Lukaku, Ashley Young was in my draft already.
Yeah,
it was ready.
But thank God they had Eriksen. That Spurs kind of rubbed off him and fucking they bottled it. So you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Koji, what do you reckon? Koji, please don't be biased. I know you don't like Maguire. What are your thoughts on Maguire's situation? Like, for me personally, if it is true, if he's backed his sister, then by all means, I'd give him a pay rise if that's the case. But fair play to him, innit? But Koji, what do you reckon? Do you think people are overreacting with it? It's not really that deep.
No, I don't think it's an overreaction, but I feel like actually no, it's social media. People always overreact to things, but in general, look, if he has been like goaded and his sister has been attacked and he's defending his sister, I will never have any issue with that. Like that's completely understandable. But if he's just going out there, like the first reports that came out clean were the fact that he attacked police officers, like he pushed two to the ground, punching and kicking, all that kind of stuff. And then it was suddenly today loads of different things in his defense. Also an article even before all that came out about how there's a model professional Harry Maguire, blah, blah. And that's when I was reading that. I was like, at this point, I don't even care. Just get the hell out. But putting my dislike for him to one side because I just never ever wanted him at the club anyway. Yeah, if he's just gone out there fighting people, selling is a bit over the top, especially because we're not going to recoup 80 million for him anyway. But I would understand taking an armband off him. Plus, in the last year or 2 years, we've taken an armband of players for much less. I mean, Pogba was accused of laughing on social media after a loss, which was a complete lie.
Oh
Lost the
my
armband
goodness.
anyway. David De Gea got the armband, said the team needed more, and then 2 weeks later he lost the armband. So like, if they're losing the armband for that, if he's gone out there, he's gotten drunk, and he's fighting with officers, he has to lose the
Yes,
armband.
the
That's just very
armband,
simple.
Yeah, but it depends on the context, doesn't
isn't
it?
it a bad look as well if you like that? That would be your fourth captain in about what 3 years.
That's the problem. That's a big problem. This is what I'm saying. It's a mess in general. It's a mess in general. It opens up a whole kind of worms. But yeah,
A lot of
Neil
people want
Ashton.
Bruno.
Fund that
Lot
guy
of
as well,
people.
man. I don't want to hear that guy's name. That Neil Ashton waste man. Don't want to hear his name. But yeah, no. In general, I would support him losing the armband. But again, I don't know who will get it next, which is another issue.
But
So
everyone wants Bruno, don't they? Really?
they need to chill with that, man. He just came. I lie. I
Yeah.
don't want another club captain situation like they did with Maguire, man. He need to chill with that rubbish.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he's gone out there
Interesting.
just being disorderly, take the armband off him and deal with it internally, and that's that.
Right, Kayla, I want to come to you before we come to you, Daniel, only because you've had experience of your club captains embarrassing the fuck out of your club, basically. So, yeah, to put it bluntly.
Yes, missing one-on-one in finals. Crazy.
To be fair to Kale, this guy, Kale's a legend. He's not a deluded ass about, but I'm going to put it out there. Are you not forgetting what Koscielny did at start of the season? Man mugged your club up, went on strike, and then took his shirt off and revealed the club is over. And then you take get rid of Koscielny, F him off. Let's give it to Xhaka. Xhaka told your fucking fans to fuck off while he's on the pitch.
Yeah.
and then man ripped off that shit.
Hulk Hogan
The camera
vibes.
said, "Fuck off, man, all it, yeah." And then the Arsenal fans forgave him. So you're probably the best suited to relate to this situation.
Wow, you ain't forgiving it. Interesting.
No, I've forgiven him for that. I just think he's a terrible player and needs to leave.
Really?
Really?
He's been good since that debacle.
Oh man.
Wait, hold on, Daniel. Are you taking Xhaka?
Being permanent, man. Yes, our club has been embarrassed by a lot of captains and former captains, but this has a bit more severity to it, you know. I mean, I've only just from this podcast, only just heard that it was it about his sister?
Yeah, so the reports last night was saying that he got into a fight with police officers, and then this morning a lot of reports coming out. So again, this is all alleged information, we don't know it's factual, but it has been released. So a lot of information this morning saying someone attacked they were undercover police officers. They attacked his sister with a sharp object. That's literally what it says. It doesn't say what the object is. That's all it says. So that's basically all I know at the moment.
If that's true, then that's a wild story. But if it comes out and he's proven that he just randomly got drunk and disorderly and attacked a police officer, I think they need to strip him. Like Coach said, the players have lost the armband over less serious things. So for you to just be drunk and punch a police officer, like no, that puts your club at that could put your club's reputation, let alone your own, into disarray. You know, it's an embarrassing thing to do. So if that is the case, then he needs to be stripped.
Straight to the point. To be fair, I've got to agree with that. If the first story is the truth in terms of he was just drunk and he got into a fight, then I would agree. That is it's embarrassing for the brand altogether. But Daniel, coming to you, just to finish off, and then we'll talk about the managers. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? And hypothetically speaking, if we were to take the captaincy off him, who do you think should get it at Maynard, or do you think there's not really many other options to just leave him with it, basically?
You know what? That's a tough question, you know, because like I said already, like, is it really a good look to give the armband back to someone who's already had the armband? Because I feel like all the other candidates are people who have had it stripped off them. So it's a bit of it's a really difficult one, unless you want to maybe give it to Rashford, say poster boy kind of.
No.
I'm not saying. I'm literally going off, like, think about it. If you think about your starting lineup, You have to take away Pogba, take away Maguire, and obviously take away De Gea. You can't have all of those. You can't have Pogba and De Gea because they've obviously had it before. Bruno obviously would be the next option, but you don't want another Maguire situation. He's just come to the club. You don't really want him to have the armband again. There's not really anyone else. Wan-Bissaka, I don't think, is a leader. Lindelof, no. Shaw, no. Matic, not really. He's not going to be there long enough. Then you've got Martial, definitely not. He doesn't speak like that on the pitch. And then you've got
Give it Greenwood, man. Fuck it.
Yeah, you got Greenwood, literally. So I feel like you say no to Rashford, but I feel like Rashford could be a captain material.
Maybe he'll rise to it.
Maybe in 5 years' time.
I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? But in terms of
you have to bite the bullet and give it back to Pogba if that's the case, man.
Yeah, literally.
I personally would love it to be Pogba, but I don't think he'll ever get it.
The dressing room leader. He's your best player, so it makes sense to give it back to Pogba.
I agree. I think for me, a lot of people saying Bruno, but I think Pogba, that guy, he'd be the man for me. But listen, I got another question. Yeah, I actually did a video on this earlier, talking about English media bias. Obviously, check that out if you haven't already seen it. For those of you that are watching now, got a comment here on the back of that. Basically, no, we'll come to you, Kojo, first. Actually, in fact, no, actually, Dan, we'll come to you first. What if this was Martial, Pogba, Sterling, and Zaha? There'll be an uproar as soon as we wrote a book about it. First and foremost, Pogba gets absolutely lambasted for dancing. So if man was caught in a fight, Lord have mercy. Someone said, I don't know who it was on the WhatsApp group. Someone said, soon as would have been there at 6 a.m. reporting about Pogba if it was Pogba.
They'd be calling for him to be like get the death penalty in that. You know, it's I think about if Rashford, if Sterling, got. You know, the abuse that he got for buying his mum a house.
Yeah, oh my God.
He bought his mum a house. Imagine if he got into a fight. Like, they'd be asking him to get banned from the league, all of this stuff. It's so
scary.
It is. Like, when you've seen all these reports, there was the other player that bought his mum a house, and they're like, it was like a white player. Yeah, and it was like, oh yeah, buys his mum a house, isn't that lovely? Like, and you're literally,
which it is, to be fair, it is lovely, but
yeah, it is. That's great. Like, buy your mum a house, buy your aunt a house. Do it. It's your money. Like, it's your money. Do what you want with it, as long as it's legal. And but it's the fact that it's so overt. That's the mad thing. Like, and they have no shame. I just don't understand. I mean, I understand. I get where that comes from, but. Like it's just pathetic, really, and it gets to the point where it's tiring. And now everyone's pointed at the Rashford because I think they stepped back on. I keep saying Rashford on Raheem Sterling. They stepped back on the Sterling thing. Yeah, because they got called out. But you think you'd see that and go, now you're doing this Maguire story. You're gonna throw out that, what is it, like ultimate professional and model professional. Like, we haven't. How long has he really been playing at that top level to have this? How long has he had that spotlight on him for you to even say it?
Man's been a whole Leicester at Sheffield United.
He hasn't been under the spotlight like that, really, for them to say it. So that's the only thing. Like, look, he might be a model professional, but it's just the fact that they were so quick to use that to sort of have that spin.
Well, I've got the Sterling article as well. Actually, they're basically calling him a disgrace because he bought his mum a house. Because after the disgrace of the Euros, they were emphasizing the fact that he's blinged out. They called him an idiot for signing a contract. What is he not signing a new contract? Like,
one of them was him going to Primark. There was another one where he went out for a fry or something.
Greg's as well.
Greg's, yeah, he went to Greg's.
Lacazette went to Tesco's in a Lamborghini and they actually fried him. Like, why?
Tesco,
you're not allowed to use it, man.
What's he got to do? Like, hire like a crappy car because
he should have went in his Golf. Should have went in the Golf for the Persian, man. Come on, man.
And you know what? The thing about the whole Pogba, the whole Souness thing, is people are doing banter about it, but the fact is, when Pogba actually genuinely said that he didn't really actually know who Souness was. 9 a.m. clean on Sky Sports. They did a Zoom meeting. The first time, and they were like, I don't know you. And he said, check my medals. Check my medals? A man that's won Screw Debtors and World Cup. Are you kidding me?
Fuck off, yeah, World Cup medals, you know.
A lot of people are saying Souness his anger comes from, I don't know if you guys remember the story about Issa Dia, the guy who bought who he thought was
at Southampton.
yeah.
I suppose you know that story.
You don't know that story. He basically
You have
legendary.
to.
you have to go look into it. It's so funny.
I'll
He basically
legendary.
bought a player off of Intel, but he wasn't actually. There was no background checks done on the play. He was just a terrible player. And after watching the first game, they realized this guy is pants. So yeah, it's funny.
So he's got an agenda against Paul Pogba because he didn't scout properly. It makes sense. Obviously, it's Pogba's fault, isn't it? But Kale, what do you reckon? Because do you think there is a bias? Because obviously, you know, we don't need to dwell on the Maguire thing because we don't know all the facts. So, but just the fact the way it's been reported, it's quite evident that there seems to be some sort of, even if it's a subconscious bias, there's definitely something there.
Oh, you can't say it's subconscious. It is.
I don't think it is, but I'm just playing.
It's all the way out there.
Very intentional. Yes, it's the short answer, and I think if you don't think there is, then you're very, very blind to a problem, or you're part of the problem. Like I said earlier, Lacazette got crucified for going to Tesco's in a Lamborghini. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure all the players before, the black players before, like the Sol Campbell's, your Henry's, Ashley Cole, etc., they probably got lambasted in the press when they didn't have a good game or stuff like that. So it's nothing new, and it goes back very, very far. So there is a clear and obvious bias, and it's not going to stop for a long time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like I said, I've gone into it on the other videos. So I don't want to rant again. I literally spent 7 minutes just flipping swearing all the English bias. But let's move on to the actual topic of the show, which is whose manager is going to get sacked first. For those of you that are just joining us and you haven't got a clue who we support, if it wasn't obvious enough, Daniel supports Chelsea, Dan supports West Ham. Myself and Coach, obviously, as you guys know, support Man United, and then Kano supports Arsenal. So the way it's going to work here is we're just going to obviously say who we think is going to sack first, and it's just going to have a little debate. I'm just going to throw a span in the works as much as I possibly can. So Dan, we'll start with you, mate. Should we say you can't pick your own manager just to spice it up?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, go on, Dan,
Okay.
you can't pick your own manager because obviously I feel that's a bit too easy. None of us
That-
allowed
do you
to
know-
pick our managers.
All right, cool.
Well, not that Daniel was going to. He sat there thinking Lampard's better than Pep, but it's all good.
Boy, I had that one like ready. I had Moyes ready to go.
I know you did. That's why I'm not. You can't say Moyes. You gotta say.
If I'm looking at it, then do you know what? Like, I think a lot of pressure will be on Ollie this season. It's hard to say, probably because truly, like, there's probably a few teams down there, simply down the bottom, and maybe that could get sacked. But you know, we don't know as less about them and what their clubs expect. You know, some of the clubs that just come up. But yeah, I think Ollie is going to have a lot of pressure on him. I think he done, like I said, I still think he done good this season. Like the season just gone. I think the Europa League, I think, has added though, like the way he went out of that, added a bit of pressure. And I think getting back into the Champions League, great. But now it's about him kicking on what he does next. But it's going to be tough. And you've still got, I don't know what the hell is going on with Pochettino. I know he's been like chilling on holiday. So if he's still available, there might be the point. Whereas if you get to say October and things just ain't happening, I think they'll just pull that trigger. I don't think he's going to have the luxury this season of not having like a really good season. Even though they don't seem to, I have to see what happens at the end of the transfer window. I can't see if you're really backing him or not financially. So it's tough. But yeah, just off the top of my head, Ollie, but there's probably someone lower down that's probably more likely.
Okay, so fair enough. Obviously, just to reiterate, we're only saying our team's managers. Obviously, we're not going to go into Leeds, Wales, or whatever. But all the teams that are
it is out of these ones.
Yeah, just ours. So you picked Ollie from the whole fucking league.
It's only because
from the whole league. I thought he was
because I was prepared to say Moyes. When you put it on me, I was like, damn, who else? I didn't want to go through the whole league.
Now, to be fair, I do agree with every point you made. I'm not going to lie, especially with the fixtures in October. It does have me a bit worried. I'm sure a lot of other United fans. To be fair, fixtures in October and December, you could potentially get sacked in either.
The pressure's on.
How we go. Yeah, exactly. I do agree. Right, Kojo, you can't say Ollie, but from our managers, if just say what you want. Actually, let's see what you've got. Go on then, Kojo. What have you got, mate?
Boy. Okay, you know what? It could actually be Lampard. Solely, okay. I knew you were gonna roll your eyes straight away. You know, don't even let me land. Just like, oh, here we go again. Yeah, that's right. All of us are. By the way, all of us have packed you this season, but here's what it is.
West Ham double, you know. So,
Double, 6 points.
double
6 points,
doubles.
boy.
Here,
Blowing
mate.
bubbles and things. You know them ones there.
Yes.
But no. The only reason I say that is because I feel like, and obviously when you have your turn, you can correct me if you feel like I'm wrong. I feel like the signings that you're making are to push you up to that level to now try and get
100%.
nearer, much closer to that top two. And if the potential is there to compete on the basis of you getting like loads of points early on and being near them, that can be the basis. I feel like those signings are for those reasons.
Yeah.
And also with Chelsea, I think also there's a realization that you guys are obviously now going to come up again, but they've had times where they've been poor for one season, then the next year they've blown everyone out of the water. And I feel like Chelsea and Abramovich will spend this money to say that I want this to happen. And if it doesn't happen, Lampard could be under extreme pressure and they could say it's time to pull the trigger. Obviously, the question will be like, who would they replace him with next? Personally, I have no idea because I don't really trust a lot of managers in football right now. But I feel like he could be under much pressure.
Oli might need the job, so.
Yeah, because the thing with West Ham and Moyes is, as much as I hate that guy, I feel like they might give him a bit more time because the fact that he lost the job and he's come back into the job again, I feel like there's a bit of an affiliation there with the owners. I feel like they'll give him a lot more time than is actually warranted. It could get really, really, really bad before they say, okay, now you gotta go. Instead of it getting bad already and they say, all right.
Have you seen their fixtures? It's gonna be really bad very early, man.
Oh, they're in for a hell of a time. They're definitely losing 6 out of the first 7. And with Arteta, I think with Arsenal, there's that bit of patience. Also, they finished 8th, so the pressure isn't as high as it would be maybe for Emery, because Emery had also success winning with Sevilla in the Europa League, and also came from PSG. Even though we know what his time at PSG is remembered for, he still won things. So I feel that there's a lot more less pressure on him. And even with Ole, to be honest, Man United's board are full of idiots anyway, so I don't feel like they'll sack him anyway, even if I could vote for him. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Lampard just based on those reasons. But remember all these eyes from early, so I'm just gonna tell me to duck out.
I'm gonna pass it straight to Daniel. Actually, Daniel, go back your boy.
No, it's not. Do you know what? Like, to be fair, obviously rolling my eyes, yeah, of course. But you made valid points. I can't lie to you. Yeah, Lampard. Because when you look at it, especially with the transfer market we're having, obviously Chilwell's now coming in. Apparently, Thiago Silva after the Champions League finals. Chelsea. So we're killing 2 birds.
You made 5 signings already.
Literally, basically. And then obviously Havertz comes. You've got Ziyech already, Werner already. Like, so Abramovich is basically saying, Pulisic obviously he could arguably be another addition because he came last season. So yeah, Abramovich is basically saying, I want you to top 4 must be consolidated. You must 3rd is bare minimum, literally. So
shout out my Botswana fans. Let's go.
But yeah, 3rd is basically a bare minimum for Lampard for this upcoming season. Like he has to really, really get 3rd place. So that's why I feel like you make a fair point. So definitely, I totally understand that.
Who are you going for, Daniel? Then
on the flip side, do you know what? I think the Moyes and the Oli one is heavily weighted for me because. Like they're equally weighted for me because Moyes, like West Ham conceded 62 goals in a season, and my thing is about West Ham is that they're not where they should be, and the board obviously thinks they should be higher up. And even besides the fact that obviously Dan always speaks about the board, and I know you don't like the board at all. I just get that from the little time we spent, but. Like at the end of the day, with the players they have, regardless of whether there's not a certain system in place, they've got quality players. They shouldn't be where they are in the league, and that's my opinion, innit? So, yeah, David Moyes has a huge job on his hands because I feel like if he goes through the patch that he had, that's why lockdown came at a great period for him because I think West Ham had 1 win in like 7 games, 1 win in 8 prior to lockdown. So obviously lockdown came at a great period, went through a great run of form, and then obviously saved his job. And kept them up. So yeah, David Moyes won. Oli as well. I think Oli has the same amount of pressure that Lampard has. I think the United fans and the board will want 3rd place as well, and they would want it more comfortably than they got it this year with Champions League juggling Champions League on the side as well. It's going to make it difficult. So Lampard, Oli, Moyes. I actually even agree with you after the arguments you've made. Lampard, Oli, Moyes. It's all heavily weighted for me. Like these guys are under serious pressure. I think Arteta has the least pressure because obviously he's just come into the job, he's going to be backed. I think he's going to be given at least a full season, and I think this is the first. Obviously, you've only been through Wenger and Emery, but I think everyone now in the Arsenal fan base is on board with Arteta and the idea. They'll definitely give him a season at least.
Yeah, I think regarding Arteta, obviously, I made the point earlier, is there going to be more pressure on this season? I still think there will be more pressure, although I do think he probably will he should get a full season with proper backing. So I don't think Arteta is in the conversation, really. But obviously, you can't choose him anyways, Kale. So who would you go for?
I think I agree with Daniel. I think Ole, Lampard, and Moyes all have a certain pressure and a certain demand.
Wait, just interrupt you, Daniel. Did you say which one? Because we're not set on fence, are we? Just
realize. It's true. Just for the sake of the argument, Oli.
Okay, that's fine. I knew you could say Oli anyway, so I'm not surprised. Kale, you go for.
Yeah, like I said, I think they all have a certain amount of pressure. But I think the thing that what we're dismissing is the ruthless nature of Roman Abramovich, which I don't think he'd care what Lampard had done with Chelsea as a player. If he doesn't get top 3, doesn't at least compete for a trophy, I think he in his mind, he's got Poch waiting right in the wings, saying because what Poch wanted at Tottenham, he can easily offer him. He'd also come into a team with players like if Havertz goes through Thiago Silva, like you said, that's a wild sign. That's a great sign. Pulisic, Werner, that team suits Poch, and I think if Lampard isn't looking like it's going well, I think he'll pull the trigger first.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, in terms of first and foremost, I've got to say with Moyes, I don't think Moyes is in the equation for me either. Because if you look at his fixtures, what do you actually expect from that? You can't expect a lot from him. I do feel for him, I've got to be honest, although he wasn't the greatest at United. I feel for him because you have got a good team on paper, I believe that as well, which is what Daniel said, but you can't expect much from Moyes. So I think it's got to be between Oli and Lampard for me. I think Arteta is going to be under a lot of pressure come the end of the season, not at the start, because I don't think people expect much. But you know how football fans do just forget within like a week. Or come January, if you're like 8 still, fans are going to be like, what the fuck is this, basically? Although at the start of the season, they say, yeah, we're going to give it to end of the season. They will start turning if things don't go well come January, whatever.
I don't think with Arteta it will start turning. It all depends on the style of play and it's football.
Yeah, I suppose that's a valid point, yeah.
If it's attractive and it's flashy, it's stylistic.
Yeah, but if you're sat in 8th again, I'm not saying you will be. I'm just saying
some big losses against lower teams as well.
Exactly.
Like,
you know how toxic
it's a result.
They're ruthless, man. I personally think. I think Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal will sack Arteta. I personally think I think it might be Lampard. The reason being, not because he's not a good manager, but for me, the signings that these guys have made, right? This is me as a rival fan. I'm generally sat here thinking there's only one place available for top 4, and it's 4th, because the top 3 are taken for. There's no way we're even chasing that. I'm being serious. We're only playing for 4th.
Wait, who's third?
Chelsea,
Liverpool, Man City are top 3 without a doubt.
Look at that. You were going to say Man United.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking.
No. I'm saying as a Man United fan, Arsenal fan, Spurs fan, or whoever else is in contention, Leicester, Wolves, whatever. You can't look at your own team and think you're better than Chelsea, Man City, or Liverpool on paper, because it's not even close. So the rest of us are literally playing for one position. So that could be Ollie's downfall. Obviously, I can't vote for him, but in terms of Lampard, he has to be challenging. Look at the team. Look at the players you've signed. They're getting Chilwell as well. If you get Thiago Silva, who's an absolute, we can sit here waxing lyrical about Thiago Silva. The guy's an absolute world beater. Alongside Rudiger, his experience, man, is absolutely priceless.
Not Rudiger. No way. Not Rudiger.
Would you play Zuma?
It would be Zuma or Tomori. Rudiger's one of our worst defenders.
I don't know.
I mean, look, I agree. Rudiger's not good, but the other two.
I know is the only reason why we lost.
Rudiger's better than. I like Tomori though. I'll give you Tomori. I do like him. Zuma's
Tomori's
well, to be fair. I do like Tomori. He's a good player. But yeah, anyways, the point stands in it. I think your team has to be challenging the top 2 for me personally. And as Kale said, you man sacked Jose the season after he won the league without any hesitation. Man got off to a shit start. Yeah, granted, other mitigated circumstances occurred, but these guys just got rid of him without blinking eyes. So I don't think they've got no loyalty to Lampard. Okay, he was a good player, but Jose is your most successful manager.
I think just so that everyone you have to remember that Lampard is being backed.
That's why it's going to be harder for him. He has to do
Of course, I understand that, and yes, you could look at it, and the simple way to look at it is, fam, he's got to get that top 3 spot, and I agree as well. He's under pressure, and he needs to get that top 3 spot. But since when Roman actually came in what 2004, 2003, 2004. This is the first time he's put in all his props into backing a manager. Like when Mourinho came in, we signed Drogba, Paulo Ferreira, Ricardo Carvalho. We signed a lot of players in that one season, and this is the first time he's doing that in a while. Like even in title-winning seasons, we haven't signed a bulk of players at one go, like world beaters, or people with the potential to be world class.
Yeah.
So, we're putting in the structure. You've got Czech in place, you've got Ashley Cole in place, you've got Mourinho in place. We're trying to build a structure and a culture of ex-players being in the positions that are necessary. So I do think Lampard will get time to implement his style, implement his system. But again, like you said, when Poch is waiting in the wings, you got to make sure that in a results business as well, like the Premier League, you got to make sure you're living up to your standard, isn't it?
Well, there you go. As Daniel said, living up to your standards, something that most of our clubs haven't done in about 10 years. But, we'll leave it as there. Just want to say a massive thank you to the boys, as always, for your time. Make sure you show them love. Their links will be in the description, as always. Obviously, Kojo and Kale do the podcast. You guys already know how much I promote their podcast. Kojo, just tell them one more time for the guys at home.
Free in midfield on Twitter, on SoundCloud, on Spotify, on iTunes, on the YouTube as well. Go check that out, lad. Come on, we're at it.
Yes. And Dan, what socials have you got?
Literally just follow Eyes on the Ball, social media outlet. We write articles. We have a podcast under us, and we're trying to do more things this year. So yeah, man, Eyes on the Ball TV.
Yeah, and Dan the Lawless, I'm sure your podcast can be lit this year with West Ham and God knows those first few fixtures. What socials have you got?
Yeah. Obviously, you can check us out, West Ham Fan TV, all of that stuff. Do the fan interviews, the reactions, the match reviews, all of that stuff, post-match time. And then if you want to check me out, it's at The Lawless on Twitter. And that's pretty much it. And everything else is West Ham Fan TV.
There you go. Happy days. Like I said, the links will be in the description as well. Show the boys some love. Thank you very much for tuning in. Drop a like, subscribe. It's been your boy, Usmaan. Peace.